Hey guys, how are you? Happy, Tuesday? It's Tuesday. I promise you I'm gonna get these days right. Happy Tuesday. I don't know why it feels like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Oh, okay. On Thursday, I had a guest and my friend Ebony, and it was an amazing conversation. We finished up our week on our month on identity. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it because I enjoyed um speaking about our topic. So come on in, y'all. You already know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share to my page just so I can remind people that we own and it's popping. So come on into the room and say hi so I can know you're here. Say hi so I can know you're here. I had an amazing day. Hey mom, how are you? I had an amazing day. And when I say amazing, I want to say I am just grateful that I have finished my semester in school and I am on summer break. Woohoo! Let me tell y'all, school is always a challenge, but then when you have school, work, business, trying to do a plethora of things, plus your own son graduating, it's a whole lot. So it's been a very busy weekend. And so I am grateful that things are quieting down a little bit. I'm going to say that. I'm super grateful that everything's quieting down and I can kind of, and if you saw what my topic is today, you will see why I said that. So, yeah, I'm like going to let a few of you guys come in. But yes, I finished my finals and my paper on Sunday night, and I am off until August 30th. And I'm so grateful that I did not sign up for summer school because I just needed a break. And sometimes we have to be really careful about not over exhausting ourselves. So I'm just grateful that I took a break and knew how to take a break because I have not always known. I've not always known how to take a break. And so to be able to kind of know and say, hey, not right now. It's been really good. It's been really good. So let's see. Yeah, okay, so let's go. Well, I don't know if you guys saw my topic, but just in case you didn't, the topic today is so simple. I mean, it's super simple. You probably was like, oh, she ran out of stuff to say, and I didn't. And I know I did not even announce my series title for the month, and that's on purpose, actually, because I felt like this was a worthy topic for a whole show. I've never really talked about it, and I feel like it is important to bring something like this in, right? The reality is, I don't think we talk about it enough, and I think we say it and we just gloss over it. Anybody that knows me kind of knows me right now. The one thing they know about me is that I'm in school for to be a therapist or for psychology right now. And so I have just started school for it. And I honestly love this whole platform. Is talking about mental health awareness, wholeness, purpose discovery, being the best version of you possible, self-care, and just making sure that you realize that you're enough, right? And you embrace all of you, identity, all that stuff. Well, after everything that's been going on, I have talked to so many different people. I watch my feeds, I watch the news, I hear people talk about their experiences. And one of the things that I think I've learned and noticed is that we all need a moment. Hey, Christina girl, how are you? Thank you. And so my topic today is simple. Breathe. Breathe. It sounds, I know you're thinking, Paris, you're going nuts. You're not going to talk a whole live about breathing. Oh, yes, I am. You know why? Because it sounds simplistic. However, we don't do it enough and we don't even understand why it helps. And because you don't understand why, if you don't get why it helps, you won't do it. You're not intentional about it. And you don't understand what it does to your emotional, your mental, your spiritual self, and most important, your physical self. I think people uh, minimize the effects. And so I definitely wanted to have a whole live about it. So yes, if you did not know what breathing does for you, you will find out today. But let's talk about, hey Kelly girl, let's talk about last year. And we know we had one of the biggest things we had was the whole George Floyd case, which was very sad, and everything that prompted from it, like the Black Lives Matter movement and the protest and all the things that happened last year inside the pandemic. It was just it was a lot. It was a whole lot. And one of the slogans they had was "I can't breathe," because if you know anything about the case, it was about a guy that was his breathing was restricted and he passed away sadly. And so one of the things I was very careful about, and I did live about this last year, was there were people that were putting shirts out or putting statements out that said, "I can't breathe." And I understood the purpose of it was to stand in to be united and stand with one voice to say, hey, this is what he said, let me say it. But I warned people that you be careful because your words are powerful. Your words are super powerful, and your body doesn't know, or your spirit is more importantly, your spirit does not know that you're joking or not. Okay, in that way, I don't mean joking, but your spirit does not know that you're just standing in unity with that. They don't understand. It doesn't understand that you don't really mean that. And I know you're thinking, well, Paris, come on. I mean, you're putting too much into it, but I'm being very serious. I remember someone was talking about not calling your friends like, degrading words before. And I feel like, well, if they're joking, it's no big deal. We've joked like that before. And they said, your spirit does not know you're joking. So if somebody's calling you something negative or you're calling them something negative, it registers. The same way, if you listen to certain music, it does enter into your psyche. Whether or not you believe it does, the same way why they tell you not to watch TV at night, because that stuff enters into your psyche. You have to be very intentional about what we let in and what we say over ourselves. And so I couldn't get with that. I could not get with walking around saying, I can't breathe, because I believe that what you say will manifest. I believe that. So if we believe that part of it, I was super intentional in saying, I am breathing. I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful to wake up and not have to gasp for air, especially after the pandemic, which was mainly respiratory for a lot of people. And people were sitting in emergency rooms and in a hospital talking about they cannot breathe. I was dare not going to walk around talking about I can't breathe. I was not going to do it. And I hope that you guys understand why. Even if you don't understand, just trust me on something. You never trust me on anything else, don't say that. Why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because it brings up the idea of how essential breathing is. If you can't find something to be grateful for, hold your breath for as long as you can, and then let it go, and then say, just feel your body try to compose itself. You will understand how precious the gift of breathing is. You will understand how essential breath is. If you ever know anything about the body, if you stop breathing for a certain amount of time, that oxygen that needs to get to your brain, it will literally, I mean, I don't know how long it is. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you if it's a few minutes or what, but if your brain goes without oxygen for more than a few minutes, you can be brain dead. Your body needs oxygen. That's just how important it is. And it's not just breathing, but it's how you breathe. It is literally how you breathe. And you guys are like, oh God, Paris. I mean, I thought we were talking about mental health awareness. I thought we were talking about being your best version. Listen, follow me, guys. I promise you, I don't just talk for the heck of it. I'm telling you something and I'm helping you out with something because it's important to understand how essential breathing is, right? I think most of us take for granted things that we don't ever, if we've never lost something, we take it for granted. That's just the reality. If you've always had a place to live, your housing security is not something that you care about. Unless you're just an activist and you find it, or you understand it and you really have sympathy for people, but it's not your issue because you haven't had to deal with it yet. food security. Unless you've really been hungry, and I'm not saying, oh, I don't like what we have to eat in the house right now, but literally hungry. Unless you've ever known what starving feels like, and most of us in North America do not know. We've never missed a real meal, and by saying miss a meal, I don't mean go to sleep because you got busy and you didn't eat that night. No, I'm not talking about cry yourself to sleep because you got in trouble and you didn't eat. I'm talking about literally you haven't eaten for a few days, not because you didn't want to, but because there was no food. Most of us don't know what that feels like. So when you don't have those insecurities, you can't really understand it. And most of us don't know what it's not like to breathe. I remember that commercial that used to be on TV about asthmatic kids, and they said, and I remember the one little boy, he said, I will never forget it. He said it's like a fish without water. And I thought about that. I thought about I visualized a fish flopping around in the sink with no water and trying to breathe, essentially. And I'm like, wow, that sounds horrible, right? So where are you going to, Paris? Breathing is so essential to our physical body that we don't realize how important it is. And breathing techniques are a huge part of some therapy. Therapy, most of the times when I talk about therapy, I talk about talk therapy, right? That's most of the times when I talk about it. However, you should understand there's not just, hey, Moni girl, it's not just talk therapy. There's dance therapy, there's art therapy, there is music therapy. And one of the things they do have is breathing techniques. A lot of people use those in treatments of therapy. So it's important that you understand just how important the breathing is. The way I came up with this topic was, like I said, I had a really rough last few weeks. I can't even say it was 1 week. I've had a rough, I feel like April has been rough. And a lot of people I've talked to, they've been on the run too, doing all these different things, wearing all these different hats and moving around and doing this and that, and having all these things to do and trying to maintain, and things have been speeding up. Pandemic slowed a lot of things down, but some things are starting to come back in. The vaccine is out. Most people going back into the workplace. I have. A lot of things happening. Kids are finishing school. Said my son graduates next month. A lot is happening. And you know what I sat down yesterday and did? I literally got off work and I literally just sat there and breathed. And I almost could cry because I didn't realize that I was almost in a state of holding my breath. It's almost like I was scared of what could happen next. Like, what could go wrong next? And I'm not depressed or anything. That's not what this is. I literally was just, I don't like to use the word overwhelmed, but everything was packed onto my plate. There's a lot on my plate. And the old me will put the cape on and say, come on, let's go. Let's just get through this. Let's go through it. It's no big deal. This is life. You have no time to cry. Nobody cares if you did. Stuff still has to happen. Let's just power through it. Suck it up. Pull your pants up and go. The me now understands that we literally have to remember to breathe. If you've ever went in a workout session, or if you've ever done anything that's super athletic, like when I used to roller skate, when I used to run. So when I working out, roller skating, and run, all of those are athletic things. One of the things they used to always say, Paris, you're not breathing. You're not breathing. You're holding your breath. Paris, breathe. And I know it sounds crazy to y'all, but when I get super into something and super focused, I forget to breathe. And not that I'm not breathing by turn blue, but I don't control my breathing. My breathing is out of control. And what you don't realize is if you do not have control of your breath, you're going to pass out, or you're going to have concerns. You're going to have issues. It's super serious to understand that controlling your breathing absolutely can affect you. Monique, you said with singing too. I didn't even think about that. See, I've been in choirs and things. You're right. But you know what, you're right. Breathing is important for singing too. But people don't really understand how important it is. And I'm telling you, just in that moment yesterday, I got off work and I sat here, and I remember somebody was trying to talk to me, and I was just like, I felt my body decompress. decompress. And I had to remember to breathe. So I felt that today was important, because if I forget it and I'm talking about all this mental health stuff and I'm, enacting all these things to try to get myself in alignment and making sure that, we're having these conversations and we are moving in the right direction, towards being the best version of us possible. If I forget to breathe, I can't get anything done. Matter of fact, I sat there and had a breathing session and it literally calmed me all the way down. I think I let go of some stuff in that moment. I think I even might have I don't know if I didn't cry, but I think I shed a tear or two, because I just think I was holding on to the idea that if I wasn't as tense as I was, if I wasn't I was almost, how somebody scares you, and when you've been scared, you kind of what's next? You are so tense that you are anticipating the next thing going wrong. That's how I was. That's how I was. I literally was like, what? When somebody called my name, when they say, hey, Paris, I'm like, what? What now? What's going on? And I realized I went into this stage of anticipating or fearing the worst. And it was all in my shoulders. It was all in my posture. It was all in, it was in my voice. I had a voice strain, on edge. Monique, that's exactly what it was. I was on edge, and it was just I was no sudden movements. The phone rang. I'm like, who's this? What's going on? What did I do wrong? It was just a moment of me not breathing. I wasn't breathing. I wasn't breathing. I kept bracing myself for the next thing. And sometimes we have to remind each other to breathe. We have to remind each other to breathe, because sometimes when you just start breathing and you take time to do that, you start to realize that you're not Superwoman, Superman. Things can start crumbling around you, but you literally can only do one thing at a time. And so you forget that. You lose sight of all of that because you're bracing yourself. That's why we're talking about this, guys. Yes. One of Paris's episodes in life prompted this whole live. I have more concrete evidence for you, but that was my testimonial, what just happened to me. And that's not the first time that's happened. It's happened before. And I think sometimes we minimize certain things that can help us. If you've ever had anxiety attacks or panic attacks, or if you've ever seen somebody have an anxiety attack or panic attack, if you've ever had one, put it in the comments, because I know that way more people experience them at one point in their life than they really talk about. If you've ever had one or saw someone have one, you will realize that, and I had to tell somebody this, or I helped a friend out. The thing that you forget in the middle of a panic attack is breathing. Literally. You forget to breathe. They literally, it's almost like something sitting on their chest. They cannot go. And it's unless you ever had one, you don't really recognize it at the time. You just think, well, what is all that? They literally are, their heartbeat, if you could sit inside their chest, their heartbeat is like, boom, 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 the air has tightened up. It's almost like their throat has swollen up a bit. They start to get hot. They just cannot catch their breath. And one thing that sometimes, it's almost like a kid that's holding their breath because they're not getting their way. Literally, you have to remind them, so we're going to breathe now. Come on, let's breathe. And that is literally one of the fastest ways to help diffuse an anxiety attack, especially if you're not sure why it came on. That's the fastest way to do it, just to sit there and help them breathe. Monique, you say you had one twice. Listen, they're no joke. I've had some before too. I had them before I knew what they were. And if I think about them, I've had them much younger than I ever knew. I had some in college. I had some in my adult years. Probably sure I had some when I was younger. I know everybody has had them. I don't think people named them correctly, right? But, Yes, yes. In our a heart attack, I had one that felt that extreme before, and it's like, Jesus, what's happening in this moment? And so, some of them that are more extreme are very scary, but definitely breathing is a big thing. So let me give y'all a definition, because definitions are good, right? Um, breathe is a verb. It's to take air into the lung and then expel it. Um, and it's so funny because it says it's a regular physiological process, right? So I thought that was pretty cool that it brought the physiological into it. I told y'all, because I'm in psychology, everything is like, I love these terms right now, right? So when we're talking about breathing, I need you to understand why it's important. One of the cool things about it is they said that breathing is a direct voluntary control, as well as reflective control. Let me tell you why I thought that was cool. Because when we talk about reflective, we're talking about the fact that it happens naturally. So like, we breathe. You don't have to think about breathing when you wake up. You just breathe. I'm breathing. It's happening. In and out. Your body does it. That's what your body normally does. That's why you don't have to think about breathing, and it just happens, right? Because the exchange of oxygen has to come in and then go out, right? And that's when you breathe the oxygen in, you spit out the carbon dioxide, right? And so it's natural, but it's also something we can control. We can change our breathing. It can speed up, it can slow down. So it's kind of cool, because even though it's not something we have to control, we can control it if we need to, right? Okay. So then the one thing that's kind of cool about it is understanding why, how it affects our emotions, our cognition, and our behavior. The reality is that the way you breathe, like if I start breathing like this right now, if you don't know me and I just started doing that, you will automatically believe I'm anxious, I'm excited, or I'm tired, or you could draw conclusions about my breathing. Or have you ever seen somebody that's breathing so slow that's like, you will start thinking either they're really tired, they're not feeling well, they're having trouble breathing. And if you see somebody that's kind of like having a hard time trying to breathe, you will be like, okay, they probably are having either some respiratory problems or something else that's malfunctioning, that's causing the thing. So it can definitely tell a lot about that. But I also want you to understand that breathing can affect your feelings, and not just your feelings, but the emotions, right? I told y'all the difference between feelings and emotions. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, but it's important that you understand that. One of the biggest things is that if you can, there is, I don't want to go into this, but there's something called this parasympathetic system, right? And that is where your brain controls the cognitive behavior. And when you breathe, that part of your brain gets that oxygen and is able to replenish you. Is able to help it to work better. There are all type of chemicals that's in your brain that like releases, and when you are doing whatever, right? And some of those things can cause us to be more anxious. Some of those can make us be more manic. Some of them can be depressive. It's like you've heard of some of them called like serotonin. What's the other one? Oxy. And I'm sorry, y'all, my brain is kind of fogged because I just finished writing about all this stuff. But the reason I'm talking about those things is because the oxygen goes into those segments of the brain, and literally giving yourself more oxygen will allow you to function better. Meaning, if usually you have those manic episodes when you're not getting enough oxygen, when something's malfunctioning. And it's almost like, you know how when you tell somebody something on your computer, they tell you, oh, restart it or clear your cache for the browser. Usually they're just telling you to clear out anything that's in it and it should work. Same idea. If you flood that part of your brain with extra oxygen from breathing fresh oxygen, it usually can help override whatever the deficiency is in that moment. I know it sounds crazy, but it is true. It is true. And so I was actually in a seminar one day, and it was a health seminar. And so we learned about a lot of different things, and it was kind of cool. But one of the things I was surprised about is they had somebody to come in, and she was called a breathing coach. And I was like, a breathing coach? I thought it was kind of weird. I'll be honest with y'all. It was like 4 years ago. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm there yet. Talking to somebody, talking about their breathing coach. I just thought it was too like up there in the air. And I'm just like, I don't know what we're doing right now. But let me tell you something. I sat in there and I just said, let me just do it. Like if I'm here, I'm gonna just submit to what they're saying. And she put on this soft music and she told us to sit there, close our eyes, and she walked us through this breathing exercise and these techniques. And I was just like y'all don't understand. I felt like I had a 2-hour massage. I felt like it was tensions that were in my back that were released in my neck just from sitting. I think we did a 15 to 20-minute breathing exercise, but it was so amazing. I'm getting chills as I'm talking about it because I just remember how beneficial it was. So much so, I think I'm gonna try to find somebody who does the breathing techniques that know how to do it, right? That's certified to do it, because she was certified and she talked about it, how she has a whole service. And at the time I was just like, there ain't nobody about to pay you to teach me how to breathe. I don't even know what you're talking about. But I can see it being like a yoga class, or I can see it being like a meditation. I can see it being like again, it's a form of therapy, right? A form of therapy treatment, and literally seeing that it can help me, especially when I'm super stressed and super high strung, literally get back into alignment. So I think I might bring that to y'all. What do y'all think about that? Anyway, you might think I'm going too far with it until you've been a part of it before. Until you've been a part of it, you don't really understand it. But I'm telling you, it is so essential. So like I said, it definitely can relieve anxiety. That's the hugest part. Like, you know nothing else, and if I couldn't tell you anything else, if you ever had anxiety, if you ever had an anxiety attack or panic attack, if you've ever felt just really high strung, you feel like you just are, even if you're upset and mad, literally, you can literally take some moments, or you can guide somebody through a breathing session, and literally it will change the course of their emotions. I know it sounds oversimplistic, but please, guys, trust me on this one. There is scientific evidence that backs this. And this is literally like one of the easiest tools that we don't use regularly because we don't think about it, right? We don't think about it. We just think, oh, that's just a way to calm down. But really, it's really important. Yeah, Monique, I think, and like you said, I love what you said that you didn't know one was the first time you had it in 2018. Listen, you don't know it until it happens and it makes you feel crazy. And like you say, if you really feel like a heart attack, you want to go to the hospital or whatever. But I'm literally, the fact of just getting your breathing under control will make a whole world of difference. Literally, it would even, I've even learned, well, and it's funny because I subconsciously use this too when I'm upset. And I think we all do, right? Because sometimes somebody come on, take a deep breath before you say something you don't mean. Take a deep breath before you go off the edge. Take a deep breath. We say that because we've heard it, but we only apply it to when we about to snap off. But you don't have, it doesn't have to be only when it's something negative. It can be when I don't know about y'all, but I get a lot of tension in my shoulders, right? In this area here. Maybe because I'm always sitting at a desk or whatever it is. But I get so, and I remember I've had massages before and they're like, oh my God, you're so tense in your shoulders. And I'm like, yeah, I hold a lot of tension there. And so sometimes I have to work on it. And I used to know, even before I used to work out, stretching was always good for me. Matter of fact, I should stretch more often. I would do these stretching exercises. And even with the stretching, oh my God, as I just did that, oh, that felt good. When I get off here, I'm gonna stretch. I am. But when I used to stretch, that's another thing they tell you to breathe. When you're stretching, you're breathing, and they tell you why. The oxygen needs to so when you're working out, your muscles are literally tearing and then they have to rebuild. And so the oxygen goes through your bloodstream and it gives it all the molecules it needs to go ahead, and it sends it down to the muscle so that it can go ahead. Listen, I'm not sure if I said that exactly right because I am not I am not a physical therapist, nor am I somebody that knows for sure. So if I'm wrong, fact check me. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Just don't be a smarty pants. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say. It's something that the oxygen does into the blood that helps the muscle heal better. Okay? But I know that because my personal trainer used to tell me that. So they would say, Paris, breathe. You're stretching, breathe. And then it would literally help everything. It would help everything out. So that's something that I am realizing that helps in our physical body. But when I actually looked it up and I saw it, that it really does actually help us emotionally and mentally. Like that oxygen, it helps with it helps to send the extra I don't know if I want to use chemicals, cells, whatever, the important information, the metadata to those areas. I know for a fact. Monique, you said creates ATP. Okay. Creates ATP. Yes. See, I didn't know. Thank you. That's what I'm telling you. Like we help each other because I don't know. I know what I'm trying to say. I'm just not able to say it right now. But yeah. And so I literally am excited about that reminder. Why didn't I take 5 minutes to talk about it? Why am I taking a whole lot? Do I not have something to talk about? Trust me, I have lots of things to talk about. Have you met me? I can talk all day. It's not that I don't have anything to talk about. I think this is worthy enough. So if anybody has any questions, if anybody has concerns, let me know. I want to give as much information about something that is so overlooked. I'll go a little further. I actually have a breathing, like a short breathing, what am I trying to say? Technique on here. And this was created by a psychologist for his therapy sessions. And one of the things he was talking about was this is what he helps people out with when they have stress management. And so they tell me to sit or lay down in a comfortable position. So just be still, right? And this particular technique is called belly breathing. And so you're supposed to put one hand just below your ribs and the other hand on your chest, right? So one below your ribs and the other one on your chest. And then you take a deep breath in through your nose. And it says, then let your belly push your hand out. And so I'm going to do it. So take a deep breath in through your nose. And it said, let your belly push out your hand. Y'all, I'm just demonstrating that, and that just made me feel so good. And now it says, breathe out through, I hate the word, pursed lips as if you were whistling. So I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to take a deep breath in through my nose. It says to do that 3 to 10 times. I know y'all thinking, Paris, you just running out of stuff to do. I promise I'm not. I am giving you, because I want to give you one breathing technique that I could have created one, because again, I've done it in different places, didn't think about it, but I want to give you at least one that was created by a psychologist that he helps people do when they say they are in that stressful moment at the time. Because sometimes when you start to dig up some of the stuff from your past, you start to work on identity, you start to work on yourself. You have these moments, you're putting boundaries up. Stressful moments can happen. Things happen within your day, life happens. And so if you have at least one breathing technique, one thing that you can go away with that can remind you, okay, I need to breathe. I guarantee, and I don't like to use the word guarantee, but I guarantee that will add something to your arsenal. I'm telling you, even when somebody wants to be mad, if you stop and breathe, you're not going to be able to be mad at the same level. Not unless you're just pushing past that. Literally, if we all take a moment to breathe, literally, and not just like, and you can tell somebody's breathing has tempered and changed, you will see a visible effect. You will see a change. And more importantly, forget them. I'm talking about for you, somebody that's watching me that has an issue with things getting really stressful. Somebody that's watching me that has a stressful job. Somebody that's watching me that has kids that sometimes don't always listen. Kids that are sometimes, they're rebelling or whatever the situation is. Literally, this is something that you can put in your arsenal. I know Montel Jordan, he had a book and I loved it, and it was about parenting. And I think the book was about if you want to use corporal punishment and whooping your kids and all that other stuff. But one of the things he talked about, I think he said, which I thought was really interesting at the time because my son was really young, he said 9 out of 10 times, if you want to whoop your child, 9 out of 10 times you should be able to talk yourself out of it. And I was like, what? Sound you crazy? You talking about that new funny dirty stuff, whatever. But what he talked about was that if you go to that stage, usually you're doing it because you're angry. You're angry that the child is not complying. You're angry that you have to repeat yourself. You're angry that this is taken away from something else you're doing because you have to discipline them. And so he said you should never whoop out of anger. And so it really battled me. And I'm like, really? Never whoop out of anger? But I never put the two together. But basically he was challenging your thinking on it. And he said sometimes there's a moment where you have to do it because the kid is not, whatever the reason is. But he was saying 9 out of 10 of those times you should be able to de-escalate. And he said, because as a parent, you're supposed to have control. And as he was talking about this, I was like, what? I'm trying to tell you that piece of the book really helped me out because it made me realize that a lot of times I was angry and I felt like I needed to do something. And so what happened? I let my emotions lead me. We talk about this all the time, not just with parenting, but anything. You do not want to be a person led by your emotions. Yes, we are people that have emotions. Yes, there's a thing called emotional intelligence. What does that mean? It means that you know when to use them, but you should never be led by your emotions. You can be a kind-hearted person. You can be a giver. You can be somebody that's loving. You're not supposed to lead with it. Emotions and feelings are deceitful. They are fleeting. In one moment, you can feel one way. In another moment, you can feel another way. You cannot trust your feelings. People say, I trust my gut feelings. No. Your gut feeling and your feelings are two different things. Usually your gut feeling is something coming from logic and wisdom. It is not just a feeling. So I hate when people say my gut feeling. If you're talking about maybe intuition, maybe whatever you say is inside of you. I know for me, I believe in the Holy Spirit. So I know when I'm pulling. My discernment, you might say that's something you trust, is something different. But just a feeling, one moment you could be mad, one moment you could be happy. Sometimes you could be sad. You cannot trust it. It is very fleeting. So while we all have emotions, while we should be able to talk about it, while we should be able to understand why we're there, when you're in these high emotional moments, breathing can bring you down and not act from your emotions. So like back in the day when my son was a bit younger and he was really just in that challenging zone, I remember moments where I was so mad because I need to cook dinner or just got off of work and I'm trying to help with homework. He wants to act up and I'm just so frustrated and I'm angry and I'm sad and I'm frustrated and I'm mad, all in the same thing. And I would probably discipline from that. Not saying that he might or might not need it in that moment, but I let my emotions lead me. And I probably could have de-escalated the situation. And so, why am I saying all this? I'm saying this is because this is a tool to put in your arsenal that will help you in moments where you don't know what to do. Sometimes the best thing to do, honestly, is just to breathe. Sometimes, have you ever heard somebody say they go out to the car and they just sit there and breathe before they go in the house? It's a reason for that. Because if I don't get this moment to decompress, if I don't get this moment, I'm going to act from my emotions and I'm going to seem like I'm out of control. When I might feel like this is logical, but I promise you, if you give yourself a few minutes, go through the breathing techniques, whatever it is, there are multiple out there. Go on YouTube, look it up, breathing techniques to get stress and anxiety under control. I promise you, you adapt one or more of those, you will realize that you will literally um, be at a different level. Like if you started at a 10 or a 9, you can sit down and literally in 5 or 10 minutes, not even that. I'm telling you, if you don't have a lot of time, give yourself a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3. I've been able to do it in 2 or 3 minutes before, and I've gotten myself from a 10 or a 9 all the way down to like a 4 or 3. And it helps me with focus. I get rid of that brain fog. I'm able to think clearer, and then I'm able to de-escalate myself. That's the thing. Even if I had every right to be mad, even if I had every right to be disappointed, even if I had every right to feel the way I did, I acknowledge the feelings. Hear me, y'all. This is a psychology thing. You're supposed to acknowledge the feelings, feel the feelings. But then when I talk about the processing part, this is a part of the processing. If you're able to say, I don't necessarily know what to do with these feelings, but they're there. And this is saying, okay, for this moment, so that I don't act out of these feelings, let me do something to pull them here. In this moment, I can't fully diagnose why I'm feeling these things. But in this moment, I need to just not pop off. In this moment, I remember I talked about when you push things down so much that it can just explode. We don't want to do that. So sometimes you need to just be able to put the top back on and say, in this moment, I can't do a full diagnosis and analysis of what happened here, but I can say that I still have to go on. Like when you're at work and you get super gone, like you shouldn't have to leave work because somebody upset you. I mean, sometimes things happen. There are, exceptions to every rule, but most of the time you should be able to walk away, get yourself together, and then come back and gather yourself, And so this is something I want to remind you guys, um, we have so many things that's happening. We have so many hats we wear, and we don't always get this reminder. So I'm all about self-care. Take some time to breathe. Put some relax. Listen, let me tell you one of the best time to do these breathing techniques. And I'm really getting into meditation too. And I used to think it was all like weird, new age type of stuff. But no, literally meditation is really just getting your mind quiet. And if you're anybody like me that thinks like this all the time, my brain, as soon as I wake up, my brain, before I say a thing, my brain is doing flips. Do you hear me? As soon as my eyes wake up and I try to close them back, go back to sleep, my brain's like, oh, you woke? You woke, Phil? My brain starts computing and it's annoying. It is annoying, but that's what my brain does. It's like my brain does it. So you think my mouth does it? My mouth can't keep up with my brain. My brain is doing this regularly, all day, every day. A lot of times when you talk to me, I'm thinking about 4 or 5 things. I'm trying to focus in on what's happening and stay in the moment because my brain is computing like that. And when you think like that, it's very hard to quiet your mind. It's extremely hard to do it. It takes a lot of effort actually to do it. And I was really disappointed in myself when I wasn't able to do it at first. But I'm able to do it a little bit better. So sometimes when I really need to get quiet, I do put on some light music, whether it's worship music, whatever you need, just something quiet, instrumental, something, anything what you need to be able to quiet yourself. Turn the lights down, maybe have a candle, maybe do some aromatherapy. I don't care what you do. I'm talking about a little bit of self-care too. Sometimes if you have time, I'm learning too to just sometimes give myself a time to just do absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. Not watch a TV show, not call somebody, not talk. Like y'all don't understand. 98% of my days is always full unless I'm asleep, right? And so I literally am trying to carve out more time and be more intentional about taking care of just breathing. And when I sat down yesterday and I did nothing and I just sat there and breathed for a while, I lost a lot of that tension out and I felt like I released some of the stress. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. Yes, it was that darn important. If you don't believe it was, go back and listen to it, or just store it in the back of your brain. And I promise you, you'll bring it back up another time and realize, wow, I don't remember when the last time I just stopped and really just breathed and what it did and how easy it was. I know this is something that seems so simple, but I think we forget to do it all the time. And this is just a reminder to breathe. Yes, you. That's why I put yes, you. We don't take time out enough for ourselves to do that. And it's a reminder. And sometimes it'll give you a momentary momentary like segment of peace. Even when you're in the middle, it's almost like, when you're in a storm and it's the eye of the storm, that little pocket where you can breathe for half a second until you have to go back out into the storm. It's been helpful to me. Like, you're really helpful. Like, honestly, it was so needed. And I really feel like I wasn't able to breathe really for the last couple of weeks. And that's on everything. Anybody who knows me personally knows that has been a theme for me. And I mean, of course, I'm breathing regularly, but I'm talking about getting control and really doing the techniques to release. I'm telling you, when you come and breathe from your diaphragm and you go ahead and you take the time and really are intentional about relieving it, I promise you, you will feel something fall off of you. Why do you think that they do the breathing techniques in the Lamaze when they about to have a baby? Y'all don't want me to go there, y'all. Y'all don't want me to talk about birth and something. You don't really want me to talk about that. So I'm trying to keep it not deep, okay? Let me be surface level, but I'm trying to tell you, you can let some things out when you're intentional about your breathing. You ever took a breath and realized you were so stressed you just start crying? I'm telling you, you don't realize how much stuff is inside of you sometimes, and it can just be released through a proper breathing session. So I hope I helped you guys a little bit today. Monique, you said you're glad that you made it tonight. Oh, I'm glad you came too. I know this seems like real basic, but trust me, sometimes the simplest things are the things that help us out. Sometimes these little reminders, and if we explain it a little bit more, it'll help us to go ahead and have just one more thing. And listen, if you have kids, teach them to take time to breathe. I promise you, you will not regret it. It is an investment in, I want to say, in their emotional intelligence. It really is. And they might think it's silly at first, but start to help them to get control of moments. The scariest thing when you're a kid is feeling out of control. And if you can help them to feel like they can pull themselves back in quickly, something that's not complicated, why not, right? I'm just saying, it's something easy. Oh, Reggie said, can you see the full shirt? Oh, you haven't seen my shirt? This is Embrace the Peculiar. Let's see, what does it say? What does it say? The definition of peculiar is distinctive in nature or character. Yes, it's one of my shirts. It's on my website. Because y'all know how I feel. I'm peculiar, and I'm embracing mine. And you better embrace yours too. And another word for peculiar is just unique. We're all unique. So that's what it is. Monique, you said it blessed you. I appreciate you. I'm glad you got something from it. And Reggie said you just learned how to breathe now. Listen, let me tell you, y'all listen. People act like breathing is so underrated, but most of us don't know how to breathe. You need breathing, like Monique said, in singing. You need it in exercising. You need it in, you're not even walking right if you don't breathe right. I found that out too. I was just thinking it was running, but they said even when you walk, it's a certain way that when you walk for exercise, you're supposed to breathe. When I skate, I remember one of the coaches who's helping me out, they said, you're not breathing, Paris. And I'm like, what? Of course I'm breathing. But they're like, no, you're not breathing correctly for the movements. I'm like, huh. And then I realized when I started breathing right, I was able to get more accomplished. So I'm telling y'all, it's like so important. And it doesn't help you just physically. It does help you emotionally. You can, when you get these breathing techniques out, it's part of, certain people do it in therapy. It's part of the releasing process. You do release things. You breathe things out. I'm telling y'all, so get into this. Get into this. Reggie, I love that. You said all your breaths have been shortened to about a month ago. Wow. That's so incredibly insightful that you were able to. Did you come up with that yourself, or did somebody help you do that? Because I didn't realize I had that issue at one point too, but I was helped out through, I don't know if you just came on, but I was in a session and they talked about the deep breathing and how most of us have never had a deep breath and understand what it helps with and why it's necessary. And sometimes in life, you're just doing all these things and you don't realize you're not cleansing out your breath. And so, yeah, that's super important that we understand that. And you know what? It's so funny. I can't believe I didn't even connect it even to the lung function, right? My son had an incident when he was 6 years old. He had asthma and he had a severe asthma attack. And I didn't know what happened. And what happened is he had allergies to trees outside. We were in a fest and it kicked off his asthma. And it was a warm day. Anyway, my baby couldn't breathe. And I didn't know what was going on. So literally, I had to rush him to the hospital because we couldn't, none of the natural things that I did helped him get it under control. So when we took him to the hospital, it was so bad that they kept him overnight and they had to put him on a machine, oxygen machine, because his oxygen was so low. And they just told us that, he couldn't, his lungs were not, one of his lungs, he wasn't getting enough oxygen in. He was fine, after a while, he was just fine. But the point is that, you don't even realize, like they gave him this little breathing tube thing to measure how his oxygen was coming out. And you don't even realize that when you can't breathe, it's the scariest thing. So when you can't breathe, take advantage of taking deep breaths. If you've ever been somebody that's a smoker, a lot of times they have a hard time taking deep breaths. So if you can do it, you need to take advantage of that. Breathe deep because it cleanses out even your lungs. I forgot about that part. Oh, Reggie, you said you came up with it. You started doing meditating exercises. Yes. And that's what I was talking about, the meditating. Like literally, those are things that we need to do more often. And it sounds so simplistic, but those simple steps literally change the whole course of your being. Really, it really does. It really does. So I'm glad that you could, co-sign what somebody might think is shallow speaking. You might think it's shallow speaking, but at least I don't do any shallow breathing. Okay, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I thought that was super funny that I rhymed shallow thinking with shallow breathing. Never mind, y'all. I told y'all I was peculiar, so don't even try to figure that out. To me, that was really clever. It's just what it's going to be. It's so hard to you to do the meditating. Listen, I was telling you, when you think a lot, it's hard to get started with that, right? And even the breathing, it's not easy. You have to be super intentional about it. But once you make time for it, I think it just will. It's something. It's one of those things that you don't realize you need it until you don't have it. And like I said, when I took some time to breathe the other day, and I was like, oh my God, Paris, you have not been breathing. Girl, get back into your breathing. I'm like, okay. So y'all get into this. So I hope it was helpful. I am excited about May. May is going to be busy for me, but I think it's still going to be really great. Let's see. I know Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. Let's see, my dad's birthday is coming up too this week. I'm excited about that. My son's graduating May 29th. Yay. And so we're doing a lot of transitioning. So it's gonna be a great month, guys. Got a lot of stuff. Gonna tell y'all what we're talking about this month, and we're gonna go hard, okay? So I will let you guys go. I will if you just coming on, go ahead and watch the replay, type replay so I can know you're watching it. And I'll see y'all on Thursday, okay? It's going to be amazing. Y'all go ahead and have y'all a good, productive night or a restful night. Or go ahead and look up some of these breathing techniques I talked about. I'm sure there's tons of them on YouTube. I'm sure. You can even probably find a cool meditation / breathing exercise that you can look up, okay? So do the work. Y'all know how I always say it. You are enough. Why? Because it says so. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to say it enough until you have to start believing it. Or enough till you start saying your affirmations over yourself and it starts to become a true thing. So it starts to manifest. All right, you guys have an amazing night and I'll see you Thursday.